What's Gucci, everybody? It's your girl Nicole Banister, aka NIKKI BANZ. I do this every single Tuesday, so welcome back to the one, the only NIKKI BANZ Live!
Here we go.
Hey, I know y'all missed my sound effects, but I'm back in action. Because alhamdulillah, there's no load shedding in South Africa today. You know, literally last time, the last show last week with Ali Jape from Zanzibar, I did the entire show during load shedding. Thank God I have a ring light, so I've literally just connected my ring light to my laptop, and so like obviously my laptop's charged, right? So I connected the ring light to the laptop, so I was able to facilitate in the dark, because you know, the show doesn't stop. Just because there's load shedding, just because there's power out, the show doesn't stop. Every single Tuesday, your girl NIKKI BANZ is bringing you exclusive one-on-one conversations with some of the most interesting artists, entertainers, content creators, activists, and entrepreneurs from around the world. Every single Tuesday, I'm bringing you a different guest from a different country, and I promise you, this is the most dynamic show out there. So thank you all for being here with me. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you. It is truly my pleasure to be here with you all today. All right, party people, I have to say I am hella stoked because today I have the one and only Akio Kawahito on the show. Let me pin this comment real quick so everybody tuning in can see who I'm interviewing today. I see my girl Melanie is in the building. What's up, Melanie? How you doing, boo? I see Charles is in the building. Hi, Charles. Welcome to the show. I see Mama and Papa Bands are in the building. What's up, Mama and Papa Bands? So happy to see you, as always. I see Queen Rosita, happy tears. Curls on curls on curls. Yes, y'all. Last week, my hair was in an amazing ponytail. Shout out to Lotus Beauty Hair. They are so phenomenal. Okay, they did my hair last week for the show, for the week. I love them so much. If you're ever in Cape Town, you have to go visit Lotus Beauty Hair. We love them. But earlier today, I took the ponytail out, so now the curls are popping. Also, you can see my grays. Ooh, y'all, I got grays, y'all. I got grays. I'm 31 years old. Why I got grays like this? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But it's fine. We gonna rock with the grays. Can you imagine this whole thing like salt and pepper? Can you imagine? Would that be nice? Y'all gotta tell me in the chat if you want a little salt and pepper afro one day. I don't know. But shout out to everybody who's on the live here today. It is so dope to see you all here. I think my girl Renelle is in the building. Hello. All right, y'all. Okay, for some reason I can't see every single person who's tuning in, but it's cool. Sometimes, Instagram be doing the things. So the one and only Akio is in the building, y'all. I see Christina's here. I see, Renelle is in the building. Who else is here? Yeah, we got a little Scott Dahlia's here. Hey, I love it. Akio is an incredible human, and I'm so excited that Akio is going to be on the show today. He is an internationally recognized DJ. He's a jet setter. Today he's in Cape Town, tomorrow he's in Joburg, the next day he's in New York, the next day he's in Amsterdam, the next day he's in Stockholm. He's traveling all over the world. He's an entertainer. Here in South Africa, you might know some of his dope parties that he and his team run, like Strictly Soul or Sorbae Sundays. All the vibes. You've seen your girl NIKKI BANZ partying at these incredible events, and he has collaborated with all sorts of incredible people in the music industry, in the entertainment industry. I'm talking Mobb Deep, I'm talking Boz, I'm talking DJ MoMA, I'm talking Tom Mish. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. And he's an entrepreneur, an incredible business, doing parties and all sorts of stuff all over the place. And he's an analyst for the NBA. Okay, like on the local TV here, SABC. That's why I had to wear my little WNBA shirt today, to do it one time for Akio, since, he'd be talking about the NBA. So yes, that is Akio, and I'm so stoked to have him on the show. And before I bring him on, just know, y'all, remember, I've been saying this every single Tuesday for the past month or so. If you have not shared anything on your Instagram about Iran, now is the time. Obviously, your girl NIKKI BANZ is half black, half Iranian, so it is absolutely critical. The the civil rights movement that is happening in Iran right now, the women's rights movement. If you don't know what's going on, please share something. The only way there's going to be real change and a real revolution in Iran is that the international community continues to be involved. Put pressure on your governments, put pressure on your peers, put pressure on the Iranian government to support women's rights, to support their freedom of speech, and to support the freedom of choice. So please, y'all, share something about Iran. Just something on your stories. Just one thing. Just share one thing so we can continue to support the incredible women and men of Iran who are fighting for their freedom right now. All right, y'all. With that being said, it's about that time. I'm going to give y'all a little drum roll. I'm going to bring on the one and only Akio Kawahito. And I know he's in the building. I'm stoked. You're stoked. Everybody's stoked. Let's get this party started. I'm going to get the little drum roll, please. I'm about to bring him on right now. Let's get this party. Get it started. NIKKI BANZ live. Here we go. Hey. Hello. What's up, boo?
I'm cool. You good?
I am so good. I'm so happy to have you here on NIKKI BANZ live. Welcome to the show.
It's been a long time coming.
It has been. Yeah. And it's like game recognized game, energy recognized energy. Finally. Okay, we got a little sip. I'm drinking water. I don't think that's what you're drinking.
Yeah. In the night. So I'm out near Limpopo at a game reserve. So I'm doing like a safari situation. So today, driving around, getting to see I've done it a few times, but I got a friend visiting from the States. So seeing like elephants, lions, got to see the lions, rhinos, all of that stuff. It was cool. And also just to get out of the Joburg city sometimes, away from everything is a beautiful thing.
Yes, I hear you. Shout out to Limpopo one time. When I moved to South Africa, I lived in Limpopo for 2.5 years. Imagine.
That's for real.
Yeah, for real. I speak Sotho.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we out here. Shout out to Limpopo one time on my Batu pa Limpopo Dumela. Okay, y'all. We're just talking nonsense now. So we got the one and only Akio Kawahito here in the building, here on NIKKI BANZ Live. And I always like to start the show, Akio, by telling folks how I know the guests who are on my show. And so I don't even remember the first time we ever met. I really don't know when that was. I just remember seeing you out and about. I would always see you and would be like, oh, Akio's this amazing DJ. He's doing all this dope stuff. And forever, I thought you were full on South African. I was like, oh yeah, this dude, he's been here. He's this DJ. Literally. And then, yeah, go ahead.
It's been 15 years that I've been here. 2007 was when I first moved out. I'm practically South African at this point.
Connected, literally.
Yeah.
So I had to have a conversation with you, and I think, I don't know if it was at Selective, or I know we booked you for Hardy or something, and then you had an American accent. I was like, hold on, are we the same? Are we both just Americanos who said goodbye, United States, we just go to South Africa? And then the answer is yes. Oh,
no.
Yes. So I love that the streets brought us together, and so now we're connected in all sorts of ways. And I think the first question I want to ask you is I want to talk to you about who you were before South Africa, before you were in that DJ life. Let's talk about young Akio growing up. Where were you? What were you doing? Let's talk about life before DJ, before South Africa. Break that down for us.
Okay. All right. So basically, was born in Tennessee. My father's Japanese. My mother's from the Netherlands. Spent most of my childhood there. Lived a bit in Japan while I was growing up. But always, honestly, I was just trying to get the fuck out of Tennessee. I really wanted to get. That was not that I hated it. It wasn't for me. An Asian kid, small town. I'm from a small town in Tennessee. My father's a professor, so it was a small college town. But always I was trying to I just knew that there was something kind of beyond that out there. And, I was fortunate because both my parents are immigrants to be able to go overseas quite a bit. And then So growing up, like you mentioned, I do. I'm an analyst for the NBA for SWC One. So basketball was like a big part of my life growing up playing. And then my first year of university, I was playing at university, and then I quit just because I felt like there was something else that was calling me, you know. And I ended up studying abroad in Belgium. So with basketball, it goes both first semester and second semester. So in order for me, it was study abroad or keep playing basketball, and it was like a tough decision at the time. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me do a new chapter of my life. So I went to go study in Belgium at age 20, and that's kind of where things changed. It was for me growing up, I was trying to get out of Tennessee, but I was trying to get to like New York or LA or Chicago or something like that. And then after I lived in Belgium, I was like, I'm not even trying to go to New York or LA or Chicago. I'm trying to see the world, you know? And at the same time, that was where the seeds of DJing were planted for me. So back then we were doing a lot of these like house parties. And I didn't have any DJing equipment at the time, but I would just sit there by the stereo and play songs on the CD player one by one, you know, like take it out, put another one in just to get the. So I didn't even see DJing as like an actual job, you know, again, parents, man, like DJing isn't a real job, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't even consider it. Finished out my degree, studied in Australia, then I went to Japan. And it was in Japan where I started, I had my first kind of like job, and convinced my roommate, I'll buy a turntable and a mixer if you buy another table. And then we put our money together and got that. And just, again, the goal wasn't even, we loved hip hop so much. And we were 22, we had money for the first time, so we were like, let's have some turntable house party. That's kind of how the DJing started.
Wow. Okay, this is a super interesting story. I had no idea that you played college ball. I didn't realize that your background, even in the United States, like very multicultural, multinational, living in the US, mom from the Netherlands, dad from Japan. Okay, so we just got like all sorts of layers of a very intersectional identity going on there. Okay, and then you just casually mentioned Belgium, Australia, Japan, 3 places you just live. Like, no big deal. Just like you busted out of Tennessee and you went all the way out.
I was trying to escape.
Yes, you weren't the same. And I mean, I think that's what travel does. Like that's what travel does. Like you go somewhere, you experience a new place, and you just like have that taste. You tasted it once, and you got to have more and more and more. So let's talk about like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just
agreeing. I was gonna say I want to talk a little bit more about like before we talk about like you're really truly launching your DJ career and all the traveling and like settling in South Africa. Let's talk about your very intersectional identities, because as someone who's also mixed race and has lived in multiple different countries outside of my parents' cultural context, me being half Black American, half Iranian, growing up living in Singapore, living in Bolivia, now living in South Africa, you see the world very differently when you have parents who are from different places. So how did that affect the way that you saw the world and your time, even just like as a young person trying to figure out what your place was in the world?
So for me, I didn't really kind of understand who I was until 19. So in 19, my father, he's a professor. He made me go to Japan with him for a summer course. So I lived in Japan as a child, but it was only at 19 adult. And then that moment when I was there, I was like, oh shit, I'm starting to get it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was always very difficult being a mixed race, like having identity. So my identity I had 2 things. I had basketball and I had hip hop. Like those are the 2 things that I could do. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if you've seen the show Fresh Off the Boat, but when I watch that show, I relate to that storyline, because I don't know what it is, but like Asian kids in my generation in like the 80s and 90s loved hip hop and basketball. I don't know what it is, but like so many of us related to that culture. So like I really get it. So once I went to Japan as an adult, the minute I got back, I knew I was moving there as soon as I graduated. As soon as I graduated, I was going to Japan because there's a lot of things that I need to figure out. And it was also that moment where I understood my identity more, when you see your own culture as an adult and then you realize, oh shit, that's why I grew up that way. That's why my father was this way. Because when you have foreign parents, and it's not even just about being mixed race, it's now we're talking about from another country as well. So culturally, it's the same. So you don't really understand why you grow up different than all the other kids. Why the way that your house is run is different than all the other kids. You just think the same because as a child, it's difficult to digest mentally all these things. Going there to Japan at age 19, I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. I need to learn more. You know, so when I got back at that point, that's when I really became, because I was very introverted as a kid. You know, fortunately I had basketball and hip hop, you know, that kind of like got me out. But it was that trip to Japan when I got back, I was like, all right, cool, I understand myself better. And it's like, as adults, or, you know, one of the best things you have is knowledge of self. Knowing yourself is one of the best things you can have. Some people are fortunate enough to have that at age 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. Some people get it at, some people don't even fully understand themselves until they're 40, 45, 50, because not only have they explored who they are, but maybe they're scared to kind of really self. And I think for me as a mixed race, it also depends on your parent as well. And I wasn't taught from my parents. My parents would, again, they just wanted me to know what I'm saying. So they never really kind of discussed that. So one of the things I learned about myself, and again, this is going back to when I came back from Japan, is that never let anybody define identity for you, especially if you're mixed race. People will define your identity for you in whichever way suits them in that moment. If they like you, then they're going to associate you with whatever race they think is the good race. They're going to associate you with whatever they think is the bad side. So my thing is like, as long as I have my identity, you can do it. You can call me whatever you want to call me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was an important moment for me, was to really have that full knowledge of understanding, being proud. Like I used to be it's crazy. When I was growing up, I was embarrassed of my name, which is crazy. I love my name so much. It's like, you know, I was, you know, whenever I'd go to school, we'd have a substitute teacher. I got my name, I'd laugh, and I said, why can't my name be Stephen Roberts or something like that, you know? But then, like, the older you get, you realize, like, how much of your identity is tied to your name, especially, like, you know, Akio Kawahito has, you know, when I lived in Japan and I had to get a visa, I had to go and I had to prove my years. So we went to City Hall and we got like the document that showed like every member of my family for like the last 100 years, which is like such a beautiful thing. Like, if you can't do that, so or maybe you can. Maybe DNA.com has that now, but I'm grateful for it. So it was a journey to get to who I was. Again, I was a very shy kid, but once I became proud of my heritage, proud of my name and all of those, that's when I really started to become who I am now. You know?
I'm so grateful that you shared that story and that journey, Akio, because I think there are so many people who can empathize with that. There's so many people who can resonate with an experience of not feeling like they were, you know, really rooted in their identity, because you're right. It can be really incredibly difficult, right? To say like, this is my name and I'm proud of it, or this is my background and I'm proud of it, especially when you're surrounded by people who look differently or act differently, or who don't see you, you know, as the same as them. So I think it's so incredible also how you were able to take basketball and hip hop and identify with those, you know, those sort of cultural concepts and be like, this is my identity, this is who I am, before you really rooted yourself in your cultural identity and your you know, that and I think that's like, that just goes to show the power of music, the power of sport, and how it brings people together, really roots people even when they're not even rooted like in their own selves.
Right. Absolutely. Held me down until I could hold myself down.
Ooh, okay, bars, hold up. I'll take that. So, I mean, I'm so grateful that you shared that. And I know I got a couple other people here who also identify as mixed race or multinational. I hope everybody here is taking some notes, you know, reflecting on their own journey to their identity, which I just think is so powerful. And it's really cool to see now how you have taken those things that were so critical to your joy when you were growing up, and now you've made entire careers out of them. Now people pay you to do the things that you just loved to do and be a part of from the jump. Okay, so
yeah, crazy. Like, you know, if I would have told 12-year-old me that I'd be getting paid to do hip hop, well, now a lot of R&B, but hip hop and basketball, I wouldn't believe it. You know, it's crazy. So, but you know, that's another thing that I want to get to, is like, I've learned I'm only good at one thing. being myself, and only excel at one thing is that I'm passionate about. I can be good. I can be very good at things that I may have talent. If I'm not passionate about it, you know, I'm just gonna hover here. If I'm passionate about it, I know that I'll excel. So that's what I try and focus on at this point in my life. Is I want to try and take on projects that I'm passionate about.
Absolutely. And I think that's an excellent reminder for everybody here is that at the end of the day, you can be paid to do the thing that you love the most. That is not out of reach. You can do that. That exists in the world that we live in today. It's just whether or not you're willing to take that leap and go for it. So I think let's talk about how you then got into the DJ space and the music industry, because I know you were studying and doing other things, not really doing it full time, and then you decided to sort of deep dive. So talk to us about that transition to actually being like, no, I'm a DJ. This is what I do.
So when we bought the turntables in Japan, we started like throwing house parties at the cribs, just people coming over. We were terrible DJs. That's the thing. So one of the things, straight up, I can look back on it, and you have to remember, this is before YouTube. And we didn't have mentors, my roommate and I, we didn't have mentors. So we kind of learned ourselves. We'd maybe catch like a DVD or something that showed you a little bit about DJing. So we kind of just learned as we were going, and we were self-taught. And self-taught, like the best DJs learned, like in those eras, learned from other people. So we weren't talented. I mean, we weren't skilled. But what I was good at doing was getting people to come to parties. You know, like I knew enough people. My network was solid in Japan. So we started throwing parties. We were trash DJs. But we threw great parties, you know? So then after that, when I left Japan, my parents were kind of putting pressure on me, like, yo, what are you going to do with your life? Why don't you go to graduate school? So I decided to go to graduate school. So then at this point, I applied to a couple schools, went to the University of Amsterdam. So there's a couple decisions that brought me to that. One of them was like, okay, I lived where my father is from, understood the culture. Let me live where my mother is from, so I can understand that as well. And like, it's not the same. Eastern culture and Western culture is so different. Dutch culture and U.S. culture isn't that really that, you know, but there's some nuances. But I also felt like it'd be good to like live where my mother was. So first in Amsterdam. And at that point, I picked up a Wednesday night event. I was DJing every Wednesday. And then on top of that, because everybody was at the party, I became like that student DJ. All the student red parties, dorm parties, all the student night spots, I was getting booked. Slowly getting better at DJing at this point. And this is still well, so we were still rocking vinyls. So I remember I used to go to all these parties. You know, in Amsterdam, you're riding bicycles. So I'd rock up at the party, and I'd have a backpack full of vinyls, and I had saddlebags on my bicycle, and I had vinyls in one side and the other side, and you could only play what you had. So I was doing those parties that side. So again, having fun, loving it, but again, never comprehending that it can be a profession. You know, my objective at that point was still get my degree, get a job afterwards, and see what's up. So at that point, graduated, and then ended up getting an internship at the International Criminal Court. But at this point, I'd also started like an NGO. I had a friend who had done her field work at Bush Radio in Cape Town, and she had kind of put me onto Cape Town. So I started like this nonprofit with a few friends from the U.S. where we were going to do this youth development project with Bush Radio. But then I got the job at the International Criminal Court, so I put that on hold, went there. But I promised my friends in the U.S., because it was my idea to go to Cape Town. So I promised them, I said, yo, guys, I've got to take this internship at the International Criminal Court. It's 6 months. Wait 6 months, and then we'll go. So 6 months, and my internship ended, and then they offered me a job. So I was just like, oh, man, but I needed the money because we were saving money to go. So I told the people that were in the nonprofit with me, I was like, I need another 6 months. Yeah. But I was like, I swear to you, after this 6 months, I don't care what raise they offer me, what position they offer me, I'm gonna quit. We're gonna go to South Africa, I promise you. So I worked that 6 months. I saved every single euro that I made during that time. Wow. And at the end of that, and during that time, I wasn't DJing at all. So during that year, I wasn't DJing. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't DJing. And I was like, I hate this. I miss not being a part of hip hop. So the second 6 months, my contract expired. And then my boss sat me down and I was like, all right, cool. We can move you up another level and give you a raise. This time it's a 2-year contract. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I made promises. So turned the job down in the US, crewed up with my people, and then we moved to South Africa in November 2017.
Wow.
And that's when we started the project. And 2018 started parties at the Waiting Room, which was Koolout Lounge. And that became then hip hop party in town. And we started trying to do stuff now. Back then, it's crazy to think that the rand back then was like 7 rand a dollar. So we started bringing out all the old school acts. We brought out People Upstairs. We brought out DJ Babu from Dialect People. We brought out Raz Kaz. We brought out Akio from Jurassic 5. We brought out Blue in Exile. And that was, we lost money on all of them. We didn't really know what we were doing. We lost money on all of them. But the thing is, I paid everybody who I needed to pay and took the L. Like, I rolled up credit card debt that it took 7 years to pay off, but like the name was good. And we started doing stuff in Johannesburg, and it became like I was trying to wave the flag for Cape Town hip hop. And that's kind of how the brand grew. And then in addition to that, back in those days, we had this thing called Hype Magazine, which was like the source. So my thing was, I told my team, the Koolout team, I was like, yo, every single Hype Magazine that comes out, we have to be in there. So I made sure that every single Hype Magazine came out, Koolout was focused. We had to do something was going on so that we were an impact on the national scene. And then from there, we started doing part of Joburg, and then that's kind of how it grew. And then at that point, I stopped doing the development work and just focused on music, and that's when I started to make a living off of it. I still don't understand the business. It took me a lot longer, but at that point, I knew that I could do. There's something. I knew I was good at bringing people together, and I knew I was good at creating events and building like around events. You know, it's not just a party. People that are with the movement. You know.
Exactly. You had the community building skills to be able to create, you know, a movement, a vibe that people wanted to be a part of, that people wanted to join. And I'm seeing all sorts of folks. I see S Beautiful in the chat saying Koolout was the best. I saw something else from somebody. Ayushma said I needed to hear this today. So shout out to all y'all tuning in right now on the IG Live. We're loving the comments. We're loving the energy. We're loving the hearts. Keep them coming. And I think like even you just reflecting on your experience and your journey is so funny. It parallels mine so similarly. Having a youth development background, working for the UN, working for the US government, and then being able to pivot into the thing that was really risky, right? Because everyone's saying, wow, you're working at the International Criminal Court. They want to move you up a rank, up a level, more money, you know, bigger salary, higher ranking on the international sort of pay scale. And you were like, actually, no, like I made promises. I want to do this thing. I want to explore my creativity. And that's a huge risk, you know, and you were obviously, you're so successful now. You were able to create this brand and this movement. You've got Koolout, you've got all sorts of parties and things that people really identify you with, not only here in South Africa, but around the world. But to take that leap is huge. You know, parents are saying, what are you doing? Friends are saying, what are you doing? The Americans for sure are saying, you know, what are you doing? So what, like, talk to us about when you think about taking risk, were you scared? Were you nervous? Or were you just like, deep down in my soul, I feel like everything's going to work out if I decide to pursue this path, pursue this thing that I feel like is the thing?
I believed in it, but there were definitely moments where I questioned it. And I think, like, you know, my parents didn't understand it. They didn't. My father's an academic. Didn't understand. Even, like, I remember before I moved from Cape Town, he said, what's your address? I'll send you something. I'm like, oh, what? Pops is going to send me something. He sent me law school applications. You know, like, he did.
Classic.
I really had to sit him down and explain what I'm not just out there bullshitting, playing music, drinking at parties. Like, there's what we do is like, there's a job, you know, and we're impacting culture. So I think that, like, I always believed in the brand, but there were definitely moments. So at one point we kind of felt like we had topped out in Cape Town. 2011, I was dating a girl in Joburg. So I moved to Joburg because, you know, that's where the industry was. So I moved there and it was a complete disaster, you know, get there because because I had made the Cape Town Joburg, and this is my own doing, I had made the Joburg Cape Town rivalry so big. Once I moved to Joburg, people in Joburg weren't trying to fuck with me, you know? So what we did was, when we started Koolout in Joburg, I went to go scout venues. And at that time, Rosebank was popping, St. Rivonia was popping, all these things. We went to look at a gang of venues just to launch Koolout. And then we went to go look at this place that nobody was fucking with. It was just a place where white people would go to do drugs. We went there to check it out. I said, this is the spot. And that spot was called Kitchener's in Bromfontein. So we launched Koolout in 2011, back when there was nothing. There was one lamppost. And then at that point, we started, they didn't even do hip hop. We started doing hip hop. And there we started that whole Bromfontein movement. Then Great Dane opened up. And then within 2 years, man, it became the epicenter of youth culture. You can ask anybody. We started that Bromfontein movement and bringing hip hop to Bromfontein. Like, it was crazy. And that helped elevate us. And
looks like we're having a little technical difficulties.
Yeah, this is the dark part of my journey. But my landlord, he rented it out to us. He had a cottage on the property, and he was supposed to be working in Canada, but or something like that. Long story short, asked to stay in the cottage. I'm not going to get into the details. This is the dark part. Got murdered. Like, I'm serious. Yo, yeah, he got murdered. Me and Reiko, we found the body. It was crazy. I had also been in like a bad motorbike accident. Everything that was going wrong, that could go wrong, went wrong in Joburg. So we were homeless, Reiko's parents, and then I went back to the U.S. to visit my family, and like, yo, what are you doing in South Africa? It's time to come home. And I'm not going to give up. I'm going to finish out the year, and then let's see what happens. And I remember I flew back, still the BlackBerry days, got off the plane, checked my voicemail, and that when I was there's a gang of calls from this ad marketing, like, yo, you need to call your number, all these people. So I called them, and they're like, yo, we're about to start this campaign with Play Drink. We set up flew to Cape Town to meet called Play Heroes, and that changed the whole trajectory. Pull out your deal. From that, I got on Sprite, and then because of Sprite, I was able to bring down Mobb Deep, Pharaoh Monch, Ali, all these other things as well. But it was that, you know, I was so close to giving up, you know, and it was just me being like, got to go back to South Africa. I can't come back home with my legs. And that from that moment on, that's what kind of taught me how to work with. I didn't study marketing, you know, but learning how to do marketing, ad agency stuff, and then from there, that's also when hip hop blew up in South Africa as well. That's like the golden era of like modern golden era of hip hop was like 2012 to like 2016, 17. So every brand was like, we have to include hip hop, and because the work that we had done with Koolout and all the international artists we had brought, there was like 3 or 4 guys considered like corporate ready. I was one of those people, so we started getting so much work. That's kind of when everything changed, was from that point on.
Wow. I feel like what's really important about the stories that you just shared, you know, experiencing the accident and the murder and like all this stuff, is that it's like, you know, it's like everyone has these journeys and these stories, and it's so important to like be able to reflect back on like when there were the dark days, like when things were actually difficult, and like thank goodness you had a community with you, you had a squad around you that was supporting you, you know, even sometimes when parents were challenging and maybe saying, okay, maybe this isn't right, maybe you shouldn't be doing this, but you had conviction, you had a community, and because of that you were able to rise through and be resilient through some incredibly challenging times, and then literally the light at the end of the tunnel was this big opportunity, you know, and the launch of the hip hop scene in South Africa and your involvement in it, the launch of your entrepreneurship journey, really becoming, you know, this businessman that you are today with the promotion and the events and everything. So it's really incredible to see how even in the darkest times, there was still light at the end of the tunnel, because you knew, you know, that like it wasn't over yet.
I didn't know, but I was confident. I was willing to give it a try. You know, you me and Reiko, all we had was rooibos tea, rusks, and then weed. That was it. That Reiko was insisting during the time that we would buy weed. Outside of that, that was our whole budget right there. It was hard
Wow.
times. Yeah.
Rooibos, rusks, and some weed. I mean, what a diet, yo. I mean, we know we know you've been on that fitness kick for a while, but dang.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So branching off of that, because we know that you have become this super successful entrepreneur. It's not just about the hip hop and throwing your own parties, but actually about creating a movement and a brand, like not only on these other events, but around yourself, right? And it's actually saying like, this is my brand. This is what I do. I'm bringing hip hop, and I've got people around me who are also about the hip hop culture in South Africa, bringing international artists here. How was it for you actually building your brand, as a DJ, as an entrepreneur? Because now, I mean, anywhere around South Africa and all sorts of places, you say Akio Kawahito, people are like, oh yeah, I know Akio, what's up? Obviously we have mutual friends, DJ MoMA, Boz, and like, these are people in New York, all over the world. And you're a name that people know in the industry and in the space. So talk about how you were able to sort of, brand yourself in a way and become that entrepreneur so that you would be the go-to source for all things hip hop.
So this was like a very intentional move, I think, in around 2016. So I was never trying to be that guy. It was never about me. It was always about the collective. So first it was Koolout, and then within that collective, I was pushing. We had a host named Mingus back in the day who used to host Koolout. I was trying to make him the front guy. I was never trying to be the face. That was never my thing. I just wanted to be the person that made things happen. I would just talk to everybody, make sure that they got there, but I didn't want it to be about me because I didn't believe that I was that person. I didn't believe that I could be the face of a brand. You know what I'm saying? And then 2011, I started managing and DJing for this artist named Reason, who was an underground rapper. And then from there, like together, like I helped make him like one of the 5 biggest rappers in South Africa at the time. So at that point, it was all about him. Like I've given like a breakdown on what a good manager should do. And one of them is, it's not about you. It's about your client, it's about your artist. So everything I was doing was pushing him. So not only was I managing and DJing him as an individual, he was also the host of Koolout in Joburg. So he was very much the face. And then I have my boy P. Cutter as well, who's a phenomenal DJ, like one of the most talented DJs I know. So I was making the DJ sets about him as well. Me, I would always do kind of earlier sets. I was never doing like the prime. Didn't make myself that person. And then just like with circumstances and the way things were, like with Reason and everything, and at some point I was like, I'd been wanting to quit for a couple of years as manager, and eventually, a couple things happened. All right, cool, it's time for me to walk away. And I had a couple people on my side, and this is one of the most important things I can say, or to everybody, and that is, like, if you want to do something different, make sure you have, all you need is just one person who's gassing you up and telling you, saying, like, it's such an important thing, because believing in ourselves isn't necessarily an easy thing to do. And also when you wanting to be esoteric to most, they can't understand that that's like a real job done. And a lot of people, some people don't want to see, some people won't be as successful as they are, but not more than that. So if you have somebody, if you got one person on your side, that's amazing. I had like 2 or 3, fortunately, who were just like, all these parties you've been doing for the last 8 years, you've been propping everybody up, but what you don't understand is that it's you. You're the person that made all of these. You're the person that everybody, like, you just don't believe in yourself. So it was about me, like, all right, cool, let me do a Keo brand. So at that point, I stopped managing and DJing for Reason, and then for myself, I started doing more Keo stuff, making sure that my photos are on point, doing videos, doing my own tours, taking bookings, all of those types of things to like emphasize my own brand. And then 2018, that's when I started my first stress free, like an Akio event. And then from there, I started Strictly Soul, which is an Akio event, which I'm one of the base of. So it took some time for me to believe it, you know? So I don't know where I'm going with it. It was a journey, I'm saying. It was a journey where I spent the majority of my life not thinking I was that guy, you know? So believe in yourself is what I'm saying. And that one, and find those people that you more than you believe in yourself. That's such an important thing to have. Because the world is going to tell you cannot be special. You know what I'm saying? The world is going to tell you to stay in your lane. Maybe your lane is extraordinary, so you need people to, when the times are low and you want to give up, be like, no man, you got this. Keep doing it. You're destined for greatness. I think that's such a so I try to be like, yo, also encourage him, be the biggest cheerleader, you know, like cheerleader.
Yes, we literally need those life cheerleaders. I see that Ayushma in the chat is saying, let's lift each other up. Those champions, you know. I see Koi Geek, aka Renelle, being like, that's fascinating because to her, you've always been that guy. And I feel like this is the type of thing that people need to hear. People need to hear that it wasn't like that always. Like, even no matter how people see you externally, it's like internally, you might be having this battle, this challenge. Like, should I be the face? Should I be the one, you know, making the decisions, things like that? I see D-Lo exclusive is saying awesome stuff. I mean, it's just like, it's true. And that reminder that you need those champions, you need those cheerleaders. And honestly, I'll even add to that, Akio, like, only tell those people, those things that you're thinking of planning. Like, don't tell everybody. Don't blast it on Instagram. Don't tell everyone, hey, I have this idea for this one thing, because you just never know whose energy, the haters out there, like, who don't want to see you succeed. Like, really only tell your biggest hype people about your biggest plans, what you're thinking about doing, because those people will gas you up. They will be like, yes, Akio, yes, NIKKI BANZ, this is the shit. It's going to be the best party ever. Like, it's going to be amazing. You're going to get $100 million in sponsorships. Like, you need those people, right? Who really just boost you like that.
Yeah. And I think, you know, another thing that is like having those people is to also help you overcome your fears. And it's like one of the things that I would say is like, you only level up when you conquer a fear, you know, and that's such an important thing. If you're not afraid to do something you're scared of, you're maintaining kind of the same level, you know. So having people that are like, yo, you got this, hyping before you have to do something, you can be terrified to do it, but then you do it. That's how you leveling up. And I've made that such a point where I looked at things that I'm scared of. Scared of this shit. I gotta do it now because you know, and like even for me, like, bigger crowds, public speaking, getting on the mic, like I just got so conditioned to being afraid of doing something, but then doing it anyways. That now it's part of the way that I think, you know. So
Wow. I mean, I always try and pick like quotes of the interview, you know, and when you just said, you know, you only level up when you conquer your fears, I'm like, okay, you better go ahead, Akio. Like that, I mean, everybody literally write that on a Post-it note and put it on your laptop, put it next to your bed, like read that every single time you go to bed at night. And I see people like Melanie is giving the hundreds across the board, shots by Maddie August saying preaching the gospel. Absolutely. D-Lo exclusive, your network is your net worth. Bars on bars on bars, because at the end of the day, if you just come to the edge of the cliff, you know, you're just going to be looking at all those fears. You're going to be paralyzed. You're not going to actually move. You're not going to actually know that once you leap, once you jump, you actually will fly, right? You have to actually take that leap and jump. And once you discover that, you know, the world is totally your oyster. The possibilities are endless. And it's so incredible to hear how you've integrated that into like a daily, weekly, monthly, annual practice to look at those fears dead in the eye and say, actually, I am scared of doing this. And I was actually wondering, can you give us an example of something that you've done that you were like, I'm actually kind of scared, I'm nervous about this, and then you did it, and now it's like, now it's popping. Give us an example.
So I was playing at Daisy's. It was a couple years ago. It was 2018. I was playing at Daisy's, and they had me closing the selection stage. And I remember when I landed. So at this point, like, I'm getting used to doing my own parties. This is before Strictly Soul. Now it's Strictly Soul. I'm on the mic, but I was like, you know what? I need to. I was in like the States, and you see how like New York DJs stuff, and I'm just like, it's such an asset to be able to have, but it's also something that if it doesn't come natural, it doesn't come natural. I'm not naturally that person. So I landed in Cape Town, and I ran to a DJ called Niska One. He's a drum and bass DJ, and I see him at the airport. I'm like, yo, what's up? Oh, you playing Daisy? I'm playing Daisy. Oh, let's get Uber together to town. So we get an Uber together to town, and I'm talking about how I want to jump on the microphone while I'm DJing just to hype up. And I tell him, and I say, oh, but I want to practice, at home a little bit, just to like get a bit more comfortable. He's like, fuck that. He's like, don't do that. Just do it. Just get on the mic and hype it up tonight. So I'm like, for real? That's what I started doing. He's like, so I forgot what DJ challenged him one night to do it while he was playing, and now he does it all the time. He's very comfortable. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Tonight at Daisy, I'm gonna jump on the mic and I'm gonna hype myself up, And as nervous as I was, I mean, it was one of my best sets, and I was like, I jumped on the mic, hyped everybody up. But I had my team with me too, so they were all gassing me up as well. And then since then, I've been a lot more comfortable. I'm still getting better, but at the same time, it was like I was terrified to do it. And in one of my biggest moments, I took the plunge and did it, and it makes a difference. I mean, there's so many more instances like that's out of my head,
No, that's a beautiful story, Akio. And taking the plunge, taking that dive in the middle of Daisy's on the selection stage, it's a huge moment for you, right? And you're just like, I'm just gonna go big, or go home in this moment. And going home wasn't an option, so you just went big, and it paid off in a big way. And shout out to your friend, who you took the Uber with, who was like, just go up there, just do it, just speak, just whatever comes from your heart,
Yeah, challenged me, so I did it. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is like just normalize doing shit you're afraid of. That's advice that I can give,
Absolutely. Everybody watching this right now on IG Live, normalize doing things that you are afraid of. Everybody who's watching the rerun on YouTube, write it down. Think about it. Just think about one thing that you're afraid of, and think about what can I do to get through this? Can I just do it anyway? Can I just try? Maybe later today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Can I just do it? Like, just think about it. I guarantee you can do it. You are so much more powerful than you think. Yeah. Sometimes those little voices inside your head, the external factors, the noise that we get from the streets, from random people, parents, whoever, sometimes, people are trying to bring you down, but really, I'm telling you, in your soul, take that leap, you're going to fly. We guarantee it. NIKKI BANZ and Akio, guarantee you're going to fly. So everybody, we have about 10 minutes left on our IG Live here. If you're not following Akio yet on Instagram, go to the top of your screen, click on that little white arrow in the middle. You can go follow Akio at Akio_Kawahito. Follow him on Instagram right now so you can do all that. You got to make sure we supporting the boy. All right, you can follow me on Instagram at They Call Me Banz. So we just got to make sure we're sharing the love, doing all the things, keep plugging one another. So I think in these last 10 minutes or so, folks, if y'all have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. You can drop them in the little comment section.
So remember, I'm at a game lodge near the Popo, and I know I can hear the ride to take us to dinner is like here.
Oh, it's there. It's there. Okay. Let's.
Well, yeah, if there's any, before I wrap it up, but.
Okay.
I'm just surprised.
We gonna wrap it up.
Is the video on CCTV? Is the video quality okay?
It's going in and out a little, but in general, we can pretty much hear you. In general, we can hear you and we can see you, so it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
So we know you have to run soon. Then let me just ask you, give us all your plugs. Tell us what's happening next, what's coming soon. How can we, as your friends, as your followers, as your fans, how can we continue to support you, Koolout, Strictly Soul, all the things? Just plug everything right now. It's your shameless plug moment. Go.
Cool. So, really three things. Strictly Soul. For those that don't know, it's like an R&B party. Doing really well. We focus on R&B. It's twice a month in Joburg, once a month in Cape Town, quarterly in Botswana, and then we're in Durban as well. But Just come. Check it out. Strictly Soul Official on Instagram. Everything you see on the Instagram page, that's exactly what the party vibe. Choose Sorbae Sundays. If you're in Johannesburg, it's just a new event. It's kind of like an open format event, which I dig because I've been playing R&B so much. It's also good to come back and play hip hop and Afro beats, future beats, and everything. So it's just good music. In the courtyard, in this really beautiful space outside. And then December, Everyday People, December 17th, Joburg, December 21st, Cape Town. Big events that I'm really trying to push. Those are really the main things. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. Shout out Everyday People. Yes, yes. Shout out Everyday People. Shout out Strictly Soul. Shout out Sorbae Sundays. We are truly just so stoked for you, Akio. There was only one question. If you gotta run, you can run. You may just DM it to me afterward. The only question that we had was, how are your parents accepting of where you're at now? That was the only question that we had. Oh, I see the internet is cutting in and out just a little bit. That was so funny. I saw that Evie Robbie was like, video quality's fine, audio slightly in and out, not CCTV, but we just got a little pinwheel of death, but it's all good. Akio has been such an incredible interview, such good vibes, such incredible gems and knowledge dropped here about resilience, about taking that step, not being afraid, being able to just take that leap. All right, I see Akio has left. It's all good, y'all. I'm just going to wrap up for y'all. But I just think it's so incredible. I'm so grateful to all of you for tuning into this interview. I'm going to upload the rerun onto YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at They Call Me Bands. I upload every single interview that I do here on NIKKI BANZ Live. I upload them onto my IG page. So Akio's interview will go up ASAP. Shout out Akio. Shout out Strictly Soul, Sorbae Sundays, Everyday People. It's just an absolute vibe. So thank you, everybody. This is NIKKI BANZ Live. I do this every single Tuesday. Follow me on Instagram at They Call Me Bands. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nicole Banister, aka NIKKI BANZ. Shout out to all of you who tuned in. Aya Fly, Renelle, Alyssa, Melanie, D'Lo, Matt, Evie, everybody who's in the building. It's just been so dope to see all of you here. Big love one time. Make sure you follow Akio as well at Akio_Kawahito. Thank you, Afua. Saying I look amazing. Thank you, Queen, Mr. Maxie in the building. Sending love. Mama and Papa Bands, thank you for the love. Thank you for the shout out. This is NIKKI BANZ Live every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. South African time. It's a vibe. All right, everybody. This was NIKKI BANZ Live with Akio Kawahito. I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.